Hi, you are listening to Amongst the Books, a podcast for kids, by kids, and yes, adults too. My name is Miriam, and welcome to episode 4. Today, co-hosts Erica, Emily, and Sarah are talking with New York Times bestselling author and illustrator, Kazu Kibushi. Kazu is the creator of a popular Amulet series and is the illustrator for the covers for the 15th anniversary edition of the Harry Potter series. Come and join us as we dive into Kazu's fantastic world. Take it away, Erica, Emily, and Sarah.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction for today's episode 4. Today I am being welcomed by Emily, Erica, and Sarah, and we are going to be interviewing, does anyone want to know who we're interviewing today?
Kazu.
We're interviewing Mr. Kazu Kibushi, author of the Amulet series. So ladies, take it away.
Hi. Hello.
Hello.
So we have some fun questions today, actually. So, yeah. So we have some fun questions, like a lot of them. So when
Sure.
Okay. What's your biggest pet peeve?
My biggest pet peeve, lying.
Ooh. Yeah, I don't like. Would you ever take that pet peeve and maybe incorporate it into one of your books, maybe?
I always do. Yeah. My books are about people who are, working to be pretty honest with each other.
Yeah.
And it can be a difficult thing. And I understand that. I can sympathize with people who find it difficult. So, I like honesty. And so, people who lie, I think they end up hurting themselves more than others. And I write stories about that, people who do that. Mm-hmm.
So I've had this question for a while. Where do you get your inspiration to write your books from?
Mostly life, just experiencing life, which is why I felt I wasn't ready to write Amulet when I first started. I started when I was still a teenager. I was 19 when I started working on it, and I was in college. And I just didn't feel I was old enough to write the kind of story that I thought I could, that I would enjoy reading. And so it took me a long time. It wouldn't be until I was 25 years old, or 26 years old. I was 26 when I signed on to do the book, and I was 28, I think, when the book came out, the first one. And it took all those years, every year in there, it took a lot of energy to make that book happen. And the drawing was actually one of the easier parts. I mean, that's a difficult thing to do, is draw well, but you can practice that, and anybody can get good at drawing if they just spend the time to do it. What was hard was, going through different jobs. I didn't get a lot of the opportunities that I think a lot of my friends had. So I didn't get to go work at animation studios and stuff like that early on. So I went out and just took all these different types of jobs, and eventually found my way into the jobs that I was looking for, and then found that that's not what I was looking for in the end anyway. And that was an interesting thing to learn. Was when I finally got to direct a movie at Disney. That's what happened before working on Amulet. I realized that I was not. I was not prepared to do the project, but at the same time, I was not having a very good time trying to get that together. And had very little to do with the creative energy. It had little to do with writing and drawing. It had a lot more to do with just being good at working with people. And that's something I wanted to work on over the years, and that's something that you just get better at when you're older. That's where I get a lot of my inspiration. Just life in general, just observing life. I love looking at things like sports strategy and things like that, because it's so different than art. I can take those types of things and then bring it into my work. I like seeing people cook. I like seeing people run a business. One of my favorite things to do is go and visit my friends who have shops. I have a friend who has a bike shop, and I almost live there because I'm there so often, and I just talk about life with him. I have a friend who has a bookstore. He started the bookstore after we had a discussion, actually. He said, if I open up a bookshop, will you come and sign at it? And I said, of course. Of course I'll do it. And then 2 years later, he said, remember that guy who asked you that question about the bookstore? He's like, I've got the store. I'm going to hold you to this. Can you come and sign at my store? And since then, we've become really good friends. And we talk about life and just all sorts of things. Like he used to be an English teacher as well. So we talk about education and libraries, books, all sorts of things. And, he started his bookstore partly because he felt he could do more for the kids that he was teaching by introducing them to all of these different books that he found to be great. And he felt that he could do more there than as an English teacher. That's why he did it. As much as he loved being an English teacher, his mom is actually helping him run the store. And she was also like this star English teacher in the same school district. So very interesting things. I learned from all of them. And then I come together and bring it all together into the book and start sketching things out. I write the ideas down, sketch it. I write everything down. And I usually have a binder like this. This is an Amulet 9's binder. And so I'll just fill it with all sorts of stuff. Yeah. So Amulet 9 is, I can't show you anything, you guys.
We don't get a sneak peek? Nothing?
No, and it would be okay, but I want to keep it to myself until it's ready to go. I think that saving that energy is also really good, and making sure that it shows up on your bookshelf at the time that it should, and I think that's important too. So I'm willing to wait, and I hope you guys are too. Amulet 9, by the way, isn't going to come out this year or next year. It'll be the year afterwards, and there's a lot of good reasons for it too. So we can get into those later if you want.
So, like, does that mean that you have like a binder for every book that you?
Yeah.
For every.
Here, like here, you got an Amulet 5 binder. And look at the cover. So when I first did the cover, look at that. It's different, see? Because I had this scene where there was a runaway train.
Oh.
Yeah. And I drew this thing, and I decided that it didn't fit. It was a fun adventure scene, but it didn't fit in the final.
You changed a lot.
Exactly.
They're looking
The
at
book
their
is
own
changing all the time.
cover.
The Amulet 8 cover was changed. I changed it to having bikes on the front cover. The last day I had an available time to change it. I changed it at the very last minute. But yeah, you can see that there's inside these are my original pencils. Used to be so small. I used to do 4 pages to a sheet of paper.
Yeah.
You are literally giving them like Christmas presents right now, and their mouths are just agape right now.
Yeah. But most of the time, these are filled with things like this, like sketches of the characters. And
Gosh.
Yeah. I'll have to start designing the scenes. So here, like, I don't know if you can see, but there's just like sketches of.
Wow.
So, is that a lot of your process? Like, you start to sketch things out, like,
Yeah.
in this way, and then you kind of tweak it, revise it, and then.
Yes. I'm constantly revising this book. So I don't. Each of the books, I feel like once I'm done with it, it's done. So I can't touch it anymore. And it'll probably be around longer than I'm around, if you can believe. I mean, it's very possible, right? So if Amulet is considered one of the great works of children's literature now, then it'll be around just like, Roald Dahl's books are around, and Dr. Seuss's books are around, and Peanuts by Charles Schulz. All these things are still around and very popular, but the creators aren't around. So knowing that that's going to happen probably for my work, I want to make sure that I leave something that's worth reading 20 years, 30, 50, 60, 100 years from now.
That's amazing.
It really is.
So in order to do that, though, you have to revise and reconsider and think about all the things that people are going to think about if they read it, and try to not waste one page. Like, I don't waste one panel in my book. Every panel is there for a reason. And if you pointed to something, I could tell you what that reason is.
Wow.
It's a lot of work, but it's fun. I love it.
Yeah. It sounds like you have a lot of fun doing it. So that's the best part.
Yeah, it's every job is fun. Honestly, it's not just this. You don't have to do this. I had so much fun working in architecture. I had so much fun working in film. I worked on games and film. I worked in the bike industry. I've worked, every job I've had, I've really liked. There's, yeah, let's see. There's only one job, I think. It was a telemarketing job as a teenager. That was the worst.
Oh.
Don't ever do that.
I
Don't do
attest
that.
to that as well. Don't ever do that job.
Don't ever do that job. That's the only terrible job. Because you know what it is? It goes back to that first question about lying. You don't want to have to lie in any form. You want to be as honest as you can be in whatever you do, and you'll be happy. If you can be honest, your job, you're gonna find happiness. Like it's just gonna be there all the time, and you won't want to stop. So I love the job I have now. It's very difficult though. This is by far the most challenging job I've had. Nothing else compares to how difficult this is, not just physically, but just psychologically. Things I have to think about. There's just so much to it. So that's something I would encourage people to prepare for when they do something like this. It's not just like goofing around, doing little sketches, and I used to be a goofball. Like I used to make really goofy cartoons. It was just so ridiculous. In fact, they were so popular amongst my friends because they were so funny and crass and so like just ridiculous. I was approached by Nickelodeon to turn it all into a TV show.
Whoa.
I said to my friend Claudia, who was the producer there, I told her, well, I'm interested in doing something that's more serious, a little bit more like Avatar: The Last Airbender. And I said that I have a project called Amulet that I want to do. And she said, well, we're not doing anything like that anymore. It's got to be more like SpongeBob because I guess Airbender didn't do very well financially. And it cost them a lot to make it. They loved it there, but they didn't think it was going to be a good business move. So they said no, no, no on Amulet, but we want this other thing that I did called Clive and Cabbage. And I said, Claudia, there's no way I'm going to draw this type of thing for the rest of my life. So I thought, like the worst thing that could happen is if this is successful. So I told her that I'm going to go do this instead for now and see how it works, and then I'll come back and do fart jokes for you guys
Yeah.
on Nickelodeon. Yeah. So you don't want, yeah, you want to do something that's like that really like means something. Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, fart jokes can be really good. I mean, honestly, I love Dave Pilkey's work, and I think that there's real value to it. So,
Okay, so do you believe in like any urban legends?
urban legends,
Mm-hmm.
like what? What's an urban legend? Oh, I couldn't hear you.
Japanese urban legends.
Oh, Japanese urban legends like yokai and stuff.
Like made up creatures that like people believe in, but they like don't.
Like
Oh, whoa.
in New Jersey, we have the Jersey Devil, like Bigfoots, Yetis, things along those lines.
Okay, so here's the thing. With all that stuff, I believe in the emotions that people put into those types of things. I believe there's a reason why they want to believe these stories. But the creatures themselves and stuff, I don't know. No, I don't. No. But no, it's all reflective of, us. So I think even urban legends are important to take a look at. If you like see a story like the story of Hansel and Gretel, that's kind of like it's almost like it's like the kind of story you want to tell your kids if they're gonna wait for the bus in the morning. And it's like it's to warn them not to be the certain type of kid that isn't aware of problems that might be around the corner. So I think those urban legends have something, that has some truth to it, but it's not the actual story itself. Yeah.
So when you were growing up, like, were your parents like strict? Like, were they like those parents that make you like have to study like every day, like not let you do anything?
Okay, so I'm Asian American also, so I'm an Asian American kid. So I came from a house where, it was expected that I would succeed at something. But it wasn't that strict because my mom, she's actually from New York. She grew up in New York. My grandpa was born in New York, and so it was a kind of a mix between some like a kind of a traditional Japanese strictness and a really kind of a free-spirited American family. So my family, since I was with my mom and my grandpa after my mom had divorced with my dad, I was far more on the American side. So things were very open, and I was very much allowed to be myself. And so yeah, no, my mom wasn't never she never got on my case about grades or anything like that. And I think that was really helpful because when I did well, I knew it was because of me. It's because I did it and I wanted to. So that was when I started doing well in school. It was when I decided that there was a reason I should do well, and I became one of the best students around in high school. But prior to that, I was a punk. I used to just go over to the local Pizza Hut or something or 7-Eleven and play Street Fighter instead of do homework and stuff like that. So I just yeah. Well, when I was young, I was a B student. Just so you know, I was not a straight A student.
Oh,
That's so
Okay.
good.
yeah.
What's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie is a film called Akira Kurosawa's Dreams. Very few people have seen it. I think it's my wife and I actually share that as our favorite movie. I've watched it. The first time I ever saw it, I was bored out of my mind. It was so boring. I don't know why I was watching it. My uncle had it on a laser disc, and I just saw it and I thought, well, let's see what this is. And I was watching it, I was like, oh great, this is a boring grown-up movie. So slow, and it's pretty, and it's boring, and there's no action. And I fell asleep, and then I revisited it in high school, and I watched it again around the time I started appreciating movies from all over the world, because I went to film school. I'm a big fan of movies. So I watched it again, and it made me cry.
Oh.
And I was so into it. I was so emotionally caught up. And I saw it again in college, and it was even stronger, and it was different. It changed. Even then, here now I watch it, and I have it on my laptop, the one that I'm talking to you on. I just have it on here, and I watch it every now and then, and it's still as good as it ever was, and maybe even gets better with age. And those are my favorite movies, not the ones that everyone loves in the moment, but the ones that sometimes we forget about or disregard, but has something really, really important about it that will stick with you for a very long time. I'm sure you guys have a movie like that in your life somewhere. That maybe not everybody else loves, but something about it, you just go back to it, and it'll cheer you up, or it just makes you feel like it helps you reflect on your life.
Yeah. I know,
Yeah.
I definitely do, so.
Yeah, so that's my favorite movie. A movie that came out fairly recently that I love, that I go back to a lot, that you guys might enjoy. A movie called Speed Racer. I love that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watch that all the time. That's another one I have on my computer. Watch it all the time.
I remember the cartoon show of that. So when
Yeah.
they made the movie, I was very excited, so.
Yeah, it's very different than the cartoon.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, they're both very good.
Okay.
However, when Speed Racer came out, everyone said it was terrible. So just gotta
No, I loved it. I still liked it.
Yeah, we loved it. We saw it
Critics.
5 times in the movies, and yeah. So you never know. It's a good example to remember that people don't know what they want and love immediately sometimes. So some of the most important things that we have with us are it takes time to like it,
Right.
like acquired tastes and stuff. And as I become a more a wiser or older author, I'm more interested in making that type of book than the one that everybody loves immediately.
Right.
It's yeah.
What weird food combinations do you really enjoy?
Weird food combinations? I don't know if I have any weird food combinations. I like some food that people would consider weird, like natto, like a Japanese fermented soybeans. They're just like
I know
easiest.
that.
They smell bad, but they taste so good.
So when you started like writing and making your books, like were people like really supporting you, or were they just like unsure of your decision?
When I was a kid, when I was really young, I had a lot of people supportive of my decision. But it wasn't a decision I was making. Everyone was supportive of my book cartoons, and they do it professionally. But I, as a kid, felt like I didn't want to lose control of it, if this makes sense. I don't know if you guys, so if you're good at something and a lot of people recognize it, a lot of times people want to not just take it from you, like some people will literally want to take it from you. But on top of that, they would want to use what you're doing to just do their thing for them to succeed.
Yeah.
And I felt like, as a kid, like I could tell that all these people were just jockeying for position around me to see who could be my mentor or the person to become successful with it. So the way I protected myself was I told everybody that I quit. And I said, I'm never drawing comics again. And everyone was shocked. And everyone felt bad because I think they felt like they did something wrong. And so I came back to it when I had control of it. Back when I was in college, or at that point, I felt that it was back in my hands. So so I did have a lot of encouragement, but I would always tell young artists to be wary of encouragement, that it might, you want to make sure that the steering wheel stays in your hands and that you're driving your car. Don't let anybody take your steering wheel from you. You want to make sure to stay in control. That's one of the most important things about art, and a lot of people don't get it, and it can hurt you later if you let other people take the wheel. You'll all crash. So I had encouragement pretty early, but I was always telling my mom that I was willing to be a doctor or anything else. I didn't really necessarily want to make this my living. I thought that would be a very difficult challenge to make this a job, because there were no jobs doing what I do. So I would have to invent my job and then get that job. So I actually was totally fine with going into medicine or law or whatever it is that they wanted me to do, architecture. I didn't care. But so many people asked me to do my cartoons that I realized that I would probably be doing a disservice to other people if I didn't do it. So I went back into it with a very different mindset than somebody who's trying to succeed. I wanted, I wasn't trying to succeed. I was just trying to do the right thing. And then I knew that if I did that, then it would become successful. And then that would be a problem that I'd have to deal with later. Yeah, being successful, look at all the famous people that go crazy, Yeah, you don't want that all the time if you're not ready for it. You want to be successful at a pace that you can handle.
Yeah. Hey, Erica. So, were you excited to create the cover art for the Harry Potter 15th anniversary box set?
Okay, I was asked to do it.
Oh.
It wasn't like a contest or anything like that. The issue was that I think people were having a lot of fights in doing the new covers. Some people didn't want it to be done. I would have been one of those people. I would have said, don't do it, just leave it alone. But the decision was made to do it, and they hired a lot of different people to come in and work on it, and nobody can decide on who gets to do it. Everyone was fighting over they just didn't feel that it was right. I think all the different things that they had available, the choices, they didn't seem right. So David Saylor, who brought me to Scholastic, he asked me if I would give this a try, and so I did. I did some sketches, and they liked them. And then I was signed on to do it, and I was excited to do it, and I loved the project. It was so great, and then getting to know Harry Potter fans was fantastic. But to be honest, when I started it, I didn't want to be responsible for this. I thought they were going to hate me for being the guy who redrew covers for Harry Potter. I think the best of all possible things has happened is that we're going to keep the original covers, and the 15th anniversary edition and the 20th anniversary edition, and I'm sure there's going to be a 25th. These are just going to be like celebrations for 5-year intervals. I think that that's a nice way to do it.
Okay. So another question.
So we're going to have one more question for you, if you can handle it.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Will you have a character named Amy in the future for your wife?
What's that?
Will you have a character named Amy?
I don't know. There's my wife is like so much in my work though too, you know. So uh, I don't like putting my friends and family inside my books. I like it. There's the feelings that I have about them in there, and I think that it's more, you know, and I just represent the feelings I have for them. You know, I don't know. There's something more honest about that than depicting them. I feel like then I'm taking control of their life or something. It's really weird for me. But Amy's always a part of everything I do.
We wanted to take this quick break to explain why you would not be hearing Emily, Erica, and Sarah for this final portion of the interview. We had scheduled the interview during school hours, and the girls needed to get back to class. I was happy to finish out the interview for them, using their questions, of course. I hope I did a good job. Now, back to the show.
They had one final question. They wanted to know about Amy's book and what she has coming out. So
It's like a series like Amulet, you know, but it has romance in it.
okay.
She's it's more it's fantasy,
Okay.
you know, and it's going to be a series.
Like several books like Amulet, like an 8 part series, or
We don't know how many books, but there's like definitely going to be 5 for sure.
okay.
Yeah. So I don't know how long she plans to go with that. But yeah, it's very much in the same vein as Amulet. Each one of them is a little bit thicker, so
Okay.
there's about 250 pages, I believe. So it'll be a little longer. Yeah, I mean it's more to me. I mean, there's a lot of action in it, but it feels more literary than Amulet does. Amulet feels a bit like a movie.
Right.
Her books have that movie feel, but it's more of a like the pacing of it is a little more literary. It's a little more like you're there in the space for a little while.
Okay. All right.
It'll be a better like rainy day cup of tea read than Amulet.
Okay, I can understand that because that is something that I do like. I like to be able to curl up, like especially with the snow coming soon.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, just curl up with a really good book. So that'll.
It fits that bill. It's really great, and Scholastic's super excited. I'm super excited. She's almost done with the first one. She's gonna have the second one done by the time the first one comes out.
Oh wow. Okay. So let me ask you, when you are working on your stories, and do you did you always picture it as a series? Is that something, or did you ever like think like, no, this would be like a standalone, or?
Amulet was gonna be a standalone, I thought. I mean, I actually try not to picture having to do too much before. I don't
Right.
like getting ahead of myself. So I don't like I've coined this phrase coined this term that people use online now called idea debt. I
Yeah.
don't like having idea debt, which is a debt to oneself because you have this idea that you have to try to accomplish this thing, and then people are feeling the weight and stress of you attempting to do that rather than the joy of discovering that that's what you're doing. Does
Exactly.
that make sense? So like the difference between Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson, and Hobbit, Peter Jackson.
Yeah.
One where they're discovering it and they're enjoying it and they're like everyone's so in the moment, and then the next time they're trying to revisit it and they're trying to live up to something that they've already built up, and it's like it's just not a good feeling to have. So when I make my books, I try not to think too far ahead, even though I always think that there's a potential there's going to be a series or something. So
Right.
I leave that there, but my job isn't to make the series, it's make a good book right now.
Right. Is there a genre that you would like to try your hand at, or is there one that you would like definitely like shy away from? That like, do you have a genre that you really think that like, oh, I have a great idea for that?
Well, I like crossing genres. So
Okay.
Amulet's full of like nearly everything except probably romance.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so I do like to do hybrid stuff. So I'm okay with anything. I would take on a challenge of pretty much any genre. Absolutely. I like subverting our expectations of genre. That's
Right.
enjoyable. If someone just told me what people expected of the book, then I know I'm in a better place as a writer because then I can
Okay.
change that expectation. And that's what I came into Amulet with. I wanted that opening scene to subvert the expectation immediately because somebody
Hmm.
might look at it and go, "Oh, this is an innocuous kids book. It's a kids book with no teeth, and there's like nothing, it's like gonna be something." A lot of I felt that there might be that reader who feels that they're kind of pushed by their parents to read a very specific type of thing, and they'll think that it's that kind of book until they read that first chapter, and they go, "Oh,
Right.
it's not that kind of book at all."
Right.
I think that goes a long way in gaining the respect of the reader. Um, and so with genres, all I think about it is that's the arena I go to. So I don't care I don't care what that arena is. I just need to,
Yeah.
I'd like to know. But yeah, Daisy Cutter is my first graphic novel. That was a
Yes.
steam western, yeah,
Right.
and
Yeah.
that's
No.
try to subvert that genre too.
Yeah, I find that with my students when they come to me and they're just like, I don't know what to read, and so I always try to figure out what do you like, and then I give them something a little more off the mark of where they normally go to, and they end up coming back and they're like, we love this. So it
Yeah.
really is changing
Plus,
people's idea of what a genre is.
yeah, you want happy accidents, pleasant surprises. Those things in life give you hope that things aren't what you think they are all the time. And, I think that people get themselves down when they think they've figured everything out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And and you know what? I think that is a perfect way, really what you just said there is a perfect way to, I mean, unfortunately, I would love to sit and talk with you all day, but I mean, I know you have to get to stuff. I have a classroom coming in a second.
Uh-huh.
Um, but that was a great way to end a wonderful conversation that I know my students are, they are over the moon at right now. So,
Um, I, I
um,
I see Kristen's book back there, the Making Friends poster on your door
yeah,
there.
yes.
Yeah, Kristen.
I have that on my nightstand right now. So,
Nice.
uh, but yes, thank you so much for taking the time out of your extremely busy schedule to sit down with me and my students. It is greatly appreciated.
Yeah.
And being able to see your process and how you work, um, that really opened my eyes, especially to the world of like an author in the graphic novel world. So,
Yeah, it's
thank
just starting out, so we're all just figuring it out. That would include Kristen and Raina and everybody. We're all just trying to figure out what works right now.
you. Right.
There's uh,
Oh, well, thank you again. We wish you and Amy all the most amazing success, and we look forward to all of the work you are going to be producing in the upcoming years, decades, everything. So, all
all right. Thank you.
right. Thank
All
you
right.
again.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. A very special thanks to Kazu Kibushi for sharing our story and creative process with us. Be sure to follow Kazu on Twitter and Instagram at Bolt City or visit him at www.boltcityproductions.com. Today's episode was produced by Miss S in the school's library and was hosted by Erica, Emily, and Sarah. You can follow Amongst the Books on Twitter at amongstthebooks_podcast and on Instagram at amongstthebooks_podcast. Our theme music was written, performed, and recorded by Jake Thistle. You can follow Jake at www.jakethistle.com. That's JAKETHISTLE.com. Subscribe and rate us whenever you listen to podcasts. And be sure to share with all of your friends. My name is Miriam, and thanks for listening. You'll be hearing from us soon.